What's up, A to Z Sports Live on a Monday. Hope everybody had a safe, great weekend. We are back at it for week 2 of training camp around the NFL, and we'll talk more about the Titans practices later on this week. And so the pads come on at Titans practice this morning. I'll be there with Sam Phelan. That practice begins at 9:30 a.m. Central Time at St. Thomas Sports Park, and Sam and I will have a live reaction show this afternoon reacting to the first day in pads the Titans. But Zach, this morning we kick off this week with finally knowing how long Deshaun Watson could be suspended by the NFL. So we've got the suspension from Judge Sue Robinson. The NFL really has 3 days to appeal with this. So we'll find out what Roger Goodell wants to do with Deshaun Watson's suspension. So we'll talk about that coming up here to lead off the show. And our question about the suspension, too much, too little, just right, we'll talk about it. And then we'll shift over to A.J. Brown, who still cannot stop tweeting about the Tennessee Titans, especially after Deebo Samuel became the 4th wide receiver from the 2019 draft class, really the 5th if you count Hunter Renfrow, to get an extended contract, and A.J. the only one not on the team that drafted him. So we'll talk about that. Then we have a Would You Rather for a Monday before I hit the road and get to the Titans facility for practice today. Zach, welcome, and hope you're having a good start to your week.
Yes, I am, and ready to get this Monday cracked off. We have a big announcement later in the week, so I'll go ahead and disclose a little bit of a tease for that news. On Thursday, we will announce something company-wide that will be impactful for anybody that knows or has heard about A to Z Sports and all the things that we do. We're very excited. It's been a lot of work. But, man, it is going to pay off in the long run going into the season. So very excited about Thursday, that big announcement. So look for that a little bit later in the week. But we got a few more days until we get to Thursday. And as we do, we are broadcasting live this morning on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. We will also tweet out those YouTube links segment by segment. So follow us on Twitter at A to Z Sports. You can follow us there and subscribe to our YouTube page. If you're watching on YouTube right now, you can go ahead and also push that like button for this video. That would help us out as we distribute A to Z Sports across the YouTube world. We'd appreciate you there. And Facebook, the real OGs that have been here since day one. We appreciate you. Bottom left corner of your screen, share now to public. Sharing is caring, and caring is sharing on this show. So share around. We need to pop up in your Facebook friends news feed. So please share the show. More people are going to be piling in over the next 5 to 10 minutes. And as you guys do, share the show. A lot to talk about with Deshaun Watson, A.J. Brown, and a would you rather that is simple. It is very simple, but you got to pick one. So big show ahead. Let's get this party started on Monday.
Yeah, I don't know if simple and would you rather scenarios go hand in hand, but we'll figure it out. We'll get to it. But let's get it going officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Zach Bingham. Make sure you follow us all over social media. We are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network and go live every weekday morning at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. You can find links to the show, just like Zach mentioned, on our Twitter timeline and Instagram story. You also want to make sure you hit us up and follow us on TikTok for Titans training camp content as well. But we got to thank our sponsors because they truly make it happen for our show, and they help out you guys with Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process by going to see them in Lebanon or simply at wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Plus, Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plan. That's better coverage, better rates, better service. Learn more about a health plan for you, fbhp.com/ATOZ. So it came down this morning. Looks like 7:24 a.m. Central Time. Cleveland Browns quarterback Deshaun Watson will serve a 6-game suspension for violating the league's public personal conduct policy following accusations of sexual misconduct. Disciplinary officer Sue L. Robinson ruled Monday, a source tells ESPN's Adam Schefter there. So we've been waiting for this for a long, long time, Zach. Deshaun Watson did not play a down last football season for the Houston Texans. While we were going through all of the different allegations and lawsuits that were popping up in civil court as well. Then over the summer, Deshaun Watson settled 20 of the 24 active lawsuits against him. And then this morning, I also saw that Deshaun Watson reached a settlement with 3 of the remaining 4 settlements, lawsuits. So that's 23 of the 24 active lawsuits settled. There was a 25th lawsuit that was dropped as well along the process. But the Houston Texans settled with 30 women earlier this summer as well for accusations with Deshaun Watson. And so overall, 6 games is the suspension handed down by Sue L. Robinson, and Roger Goodell and the NFL have 3 days to respond if they want to appeal for a longer suspension. The NFL is pushing for a minimum of 12. They would have liked a year-long suspension, and the NFLPA was fighting for 0 suspension. So no fine as well for Deshaun Watson. That's just kind of the facts of what came out this morning. But Zach, your initial reaction on what you saw from the 6-game suspension for Deshaun Watson?
Well, it's been a long time, right, since this story broke. And, as the dust has settled, everybody's taken the money, right? I mean, the settlements have been passed out. And you just said all of the settlements that have been made for the, Deshaun Watson, as the accused, has gone through his fair shares of ups and downs over the last couple of years of sitting out, finally getting traded, but also getting the mega contract. And the writing on the wall for me was yesterday. And if I could have predicted something yesterday, it would have been probably 6 to 8 games based on what the NFL Players Association said. Because the NFLPA yesterday on Sunday basically came out and said, we're going to support the decision that the judge makes. That tells me they knew what it was, and they were happy with 6 games. So they came out, they did their own version of public relations, and they came out yesterday, said we're going to support no matter what the judge says, whether it's 6, 12, a year, 2 years, 3 years, a life in prison. We're going to support it because they knew it was 6 games. So, Deshaun Watson's camp is very happy because of also the way they structured the Cleveland Browns contract with him. He doesn't lose that much money because his game salary, he only loses $345,000 in suspension money, right? In fines by not playing those 6 games. It all, at the end of the day, Deshaun Watson comes out pretty clean in a very messy situation where everybody was, the accused came out, more and more came out. Look, I've said it numerous times. I think there is some guilt within Deshaun Watson and what occurred, what happened. But at the end of the day, all of the victims or alleged victims came out and they took the money.
Well, no,
they settled.
Hold on.
They settled besides
not all.
Besides one.
You can't say all besides one.
So, but
all but one.
But from what the number was over the last several years and all of the interviews that the alleged victims saying that they were not going to take the money because they wanted justice, things have changed. I mean, and that is the case. And I do believe, Austin, that the settlements heavily influenced the suspension. The settlements heavily influenced the number of games Deshaun Watson was suspended.
I mean, I think
that's my opinion.
And that, look, you're gonna have your opinion. I'm gonna have mine. I don't necessarily make that correlation. I think, I think I understand settlements happen for a lot of different reasons. Not all settlements happen for the same reason. A lot of times, like I don't know what the financial situation is of 23 of the 24 people who have settled their lawsuits. They're probably ranging all over the place. I don't know if they want to continue to go on with this because of all the drama and the things that have happened in their life because of that. I don't understand that. I don't make that correlation that the settlements help.
I do believe that influenced, because if Austin, let's just talk about the facts. If all 25 women refused to take settlements and they wanted justice as they spoke about, look, I've stated on record, I don't believe that Deshaun Watson is fully innocent. I think something happened. If there's that many women coming out that saying that they felt sexual harassed or sexual abused, I think there's too many that state that Deshaun Watson didn't do something wrong. But I do believe that the tune, I mean, I don't have to believe this is actually the facts. The tune changed from the alleged victims. They did from the start of this 2 years ago of what their stance was to where we are now. The settlements, I mean, there's 24 out of 25, as you stated it, right?
23 out of 24.
Or 23 out, and then there's one
the 25th
more that
was dropped.
Got dropped. That tells me something. That truly does. And based on the suspension, right? The NFL was trying to push for a full season. He only got 6 games. There's 17 games in the season. You know, I mean, there's a discrepancy there.
So I find it, and we're about to ask the question of how everybody thinks about the 6 games, because I've got my opinions. Amy says this is why only 10% of women report abuse, because I feel like a lot of women who either work in the NFL, work around the NFL, watch the NFL, feel significantly shorted in this situation this morning. And so we want to go ahead and ask this question, then we'll dive in to all of our opinions about this. Deshaun Watson suspended 6 games by the NFL. Again, Roger Goodell has 3 days to appeal for a longer suspension because the NFL wanted minimum 12, but they would have loved for the full season. But Deshaun Watson suspended for 6 games. Too much, too little, just right. What is your opinion? Too much, too little, just right. But first, let me tell you guys about the Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org. The region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. Whenever you get hurt in life, you got to know where to go to, where to get back to recovery, how to feel better and fix that injury. I hurt my foot in the month of May. I waited way too long before I went to the Bone and Joint Institute because it didn't take me very long once I got to the Bone and Joint Institute to get my foot back on track. And now I'm ready to go, able to work out like I was before I hurt my foot. All because Dr. Jeff Watson, who's a foot and ankle specialist, helped me out there in Franklin at the Bone and Joint Institute. So check them out, boneandjointtn.org.
A to Z Sports, we are powered by BetMGM right there on the screen. You can download the app today in your app store. That is our title sponsor. We love BetMGM. You should love it, BetMGM, because new users get a risk-free bet up to $1,000 with the promo code ATOZ Sports. Right there on the screen, no spaces, ATOZ SPORTS. You can put that promo code in, risk-free bet up to $1,000.
All right, so the question is Deshaun Watson suspended 6 games by Judge Sue L. Robinson in the NFL. Is this too much, too little, or just right? Zach, I'm going to send you to the comment section. What are the people saying?
Well, I'll first start with this comment, which I think is absolutely asinine and ridiculous. And I will call your ass out, Amy, because you're ignorant right there if you think or state that. So you've painted your own picture, Amy, in the comments, and I won't stand for it. I never once am pro abuse. I actually stated, if you were listening, but your ears were closed, that I do believe that Deshaun Watson is guilty of something. There's too many. I simply stated, and I actually think there was another comment that was agreeing with me. Steven, you put this very eloquently, not asinine like Amy. If you did the inverse and only 1 out of 25 were settled, I don't think we have a 6-game suspension. And the other thing, Amy, you don't even know my answer to what I think, if it's too much or too little or just right. So sit back, relax a little bit, and enjoy the show and listen, and don't start calling things out. Because I'll call your ass out any and every day of the week if you say stupid stuff like that.
And I don't recognize Amy's name, so I don't know how often Amy's been watching our show.
I don't care.
Well, my point is, I don't know if Amy probably has not kept on with our talks and conversations that we've had about Deshaun Watson.
No grace to Amy. You can't say stuff like that.
I'm not giving grace to Amy. I'm not giving grace to Amy. I'm talking about how I know how you feel about the whole situation. Amy's comment is incorrect that Zach is pro abuse. That's what I'm saying here.
So too much, too little, or just right. Tighten Up says too little. So does Steven. It says too little. Scott says too little from Michael, too little from Jill, too little from Karen, too little from Tim, way too little from Grim Jim 69. Derek also says too little. Sean says it's a tough subject. it's easy to accuse, bad for men, but also hard to prove, which is bad for women, this does make it a difficult situation for both parties because it has to be proven, right? And the NFL, what we are talking about is separate from the legal accusations. It truly is. The suspension is put down based on the NFL saying that Deshaun Watson abused a policy within the regulations of the league. So that's why they suspended him. So we also have to clarify that this was the NFL's decision that had a third-party arbitrator come in and put down a suspension. There's the NFL, there's the NFL's Players Association. They hired somebody to do an investigation and to suggest what the punishment would be. The NFL Players Association yesterday said that they would support that suggested punishment. Today it comes out that suggested punishment is 6 games. So way too little, a lot of too littles. I will say,
Sure,
out of all of the comments, which do make a lot of sense based on all the things that we talked about. Austin, what is your answer?
it's too little. 6 games smells really bad to me. This is the NFL had an opportunity to suspend Deshaun Watson for maybe 12 games. And I think a lot of people who are saying too little would be like, okay, I wish it was more. I wish it was the whole season, but I can be okay with 12 games. That's what I feel like a 12-game suspension announcement from the NFL would have done for how they're making women around their sport feel. It's too little. And because of, if you look at what's going on with DeAndre Hopkins, a performance enhancing drug gets him 6 games. There's been a lot of precedent around the NFL where 6 games, and I understand, Zach, by your facial expressions, I know not this thing isn't apples to apples, but what did Ben Roethlisberger get for the one incident in 2004, right? He got 6 games that was down to 4 games. Deshaun Watson
They
had
are completely different, though, like cases.
I understand that,
like
but
what
again,
happened?
The precedent for sexual assault should be stronger than what 6 games is. It smells bad to me. It's really bad, and I understand there's
he was not proven guilty.
That's what I was about to say before you started talking over me. I understand there is zero actual law, criminal cases about this or criminal anything there. It's civil. But again, the fact that the Houston Texans had to settle with 30 other allegations from accusers because of how they enabled Deshaun Watson over this time, it's very, very, it's very bad optics. 6 games is weak.
So I stand by what I've always said. I did not think he was going to get 12 games. I did not think he was going to get all 17. I just didn't think that they were going to do it. And it came down to he wasn't guilty, right? Now, the public perception of guilt, I think absolutely. I think this is fishy, that it doesn't seem that he is fully innocent, but the grand jury did not indict him, right? That was the huge tipping point of this case. So then, as you referenced, Austin, it turned civil. These civil cases, all of them but one, 20 plus, were settled, right? So that also, I believe, as I've stated, influenced what the actual decision was. And here's the last thing. You cannot compare all of the other things to this situation. This is a different situation. It has driven me crazy this morning for everybody coming out and mentioning the Calvin Ridley situation. Calvin Ridley is separate. This is a policy that the NFL is punishing Deshaun Watson for. It was a policy. Now, all policies you don't have to agree with, but the Calvin Ridley was a policy of cheating, of betting and gambling on games. You cannot do that. That has been a standstill point in sports for a long, long time. I do stand by that this is too little because I said 8 to 10 games. That's what I thought. 8 to 10. I thought the number was going to be 8. I thought that made a lot of sense. It's almost half of the season. You know, they added a game a couple of years ago, but I thought 8 games made a lot of sense. So my answer is too little because 6 is less than 8. But at the end of the day, and this is weird to say, but he's really not guilty of anything, right? Like proven in the court of law, he is not.
Right,
correct?
But again, like the NFL is not basing this decision off of his guilt in court. They're basing it off of him violating the league's personal conduct policy.
Correct.
And part of that personal conduct policy is embarrassing the NFL for nearly 2 full calendar years with up to 24 alleged accusations and lawsuits up against him. So, like, it's not about whether he was guilty in criminal court or not, or settled as a certain amount of lawsuits or not. It's the fact that he had 24 lawsuits of sexual misconduct accusations against him, and his NFL team that drafted him and paid him helped enable that because they settled with 30 other different lawsuits.
But it does matter, Austin.
Bad look because, again, I understand.
If he was guilty, he would have gotten more gains, though.
Yes, but again, that's not.
That's my point. That's why I said what I said.
Personal conduct policy, because the personal conduct policy is a very vague, widespread term, right? Because you could say that 78 games that Josh Gordon has been suspended for marijuana and substance abuse falls under personal conduct policy, right? There's a lot of different ways. Like I agree with you on the Calvin Ridley thing. It's completely different, and like the sports betting aspect, there was going to be a player who bet on the NFL while being an active NFL player that was going to get hammered. That was always going to happen. And Eric Torres, you can continue to call us idiots or clowns or whatever you want to. You're watching our show with your free time. So who's the clown there? But again, I think that this is weak by the NFL. Plaxico Burress shot himself in the leg and got suspended for almost 6 games. Like personal conduct policy, this has embarrassed the NFL for far too long for it just to be 6 games.
So how much, and this is what the chat has brought up, and this is what I wanted to ask you, how much do you think that the league or the judge that finally suggested the suspension was influenced by him already sitting out a year last year?
I think that's interesting. But again, why did he sit out last year? Initially, he sat out last year because he wanted to be traded by the Texans, right? Then it was a lot of this situation of the Texans not wanting to
the Texans refused to play him.
Right, I understand. But there was initially, before this happened, Deshaun Watson was trying to demand the trade away from the Texans. So I do think that the Texans were trying to protect themselves by not playing somebody that they were going to have to, not basing their football aspect around a player that might be suspended later on. So I get that a little bit. I don't know what she would think there, but I don't think it would be incorrect to think it might have had an impact for her.
Yeah, and look, 6 games is impactful, but it's not as impactful as 8 to 10, right? I think there's a huge difference between 6 and 8 games. There's only 17 games in the season. We know that the state of the AFC as well. And Deshaun Watson, why I thought that maybe it could be more than 6 games is because of what the Browns did with his contract, right? They finessed his contract to make sure that Deshaun Watson got paid and that his salary game to game, that they knew he was going to get suspended in some regard, right? So he's only losing, the guy's gotten $240 million. He's only losing $345,000.
And he also got paid for every game he didn't play last year, too.
He got $15 million in the bank yesterday.
No, I know, but last season he sat out all last year, didn't play a game, but collected every single check, right? So
because that was the Texans' decision.
Right. And there was a lot that went into that decision. That's my point on that. So oh my gosh, he got suspended with full pay. What a great deal. Suspended, not having to do anything and then get paid for what you were supposed to do is a great setup and should not be treated as a punishment for Deshaun Watson, in my opinion.
So I think here at the end of the day, the public perception has already done the damage to Deshaun Watson, right? You are going to think about Deshaun Watson the way that you are going to think about Deshaun Watson, no matter what. he now has the opportunity moving forward to try to play his way out of this. Kobe Bryant is the best example of that. Kobe was able to play his way out of a really sticky, bad situation, right? We all know about that accusation of rape right back in the day. Now, I think that would have been a completely different story if it was in today's age with social media. Everybody would agree with that. Now Kobe went on to win, obviously 2 NBA championships after that and was able to play his way out, as I said. Here's kind of to wrap this conversation up because it's 6 games. It is what it is. You can't really do anything about it. The NFL, I guess the one thing that is still open, they can still appeal. At the end of the day, I don't think it's going to go a little anymore. I think they're going to just try to let this thing die down and get to the season. But do you think Deshaun Watson can play his way out of all of the bad PR that has been accrued over the last 24 months?
I mean, that's an individual opinion by every single. Dwayne says Michael Vick played his way out. Not for me, Dwayne. Michael Vick did not play his way out for me.
Good point for you. And I know that about you.
And Michael Vick is an evil person and was a very evil person with all the things he was doing there. And nothing he does moving forward will change my opinion on that for all the just hysterically bad things that he did. So will Deshaun Watson? I mean, it's hard. I can't answer for everybody. There will be people like me that never will forgive him or move on. And then there will be Browns fans who will be completely split because he's a really good quarterback and then also hate him for what he was accused of doing. So I don't know.
I think the answer is.
So Dion says Kobe did personally, Kobe did for me because I saw how Kobe handled himself and it was the one accusation, right? And again, I'm not saying it. One accusation is very serious, but a conduct of having a massage from 60 plus women over an 18 to 20 month period, and then having 24 civil lawsuits accusing sexual misconduct, that's a lot harder to play out of, but just by scoring touchdowns. He will have to do a ton to do that for me, and I don't even know if that's achievable.
I think in the public's eyes, and it's hard to predict that, but he's 26 years old. Time is on Deshaun Watson's side. So my answer would be, I do think he has the ability to play out of it. I don't know if he will, right? I mean, the Cleveland Browns organization notoriously has not been, great. They're probably going to make a bad decision here and there. But Austin, don't you also think, let's just talk football here, the Browns are probably in their best position that they've been in since Bernie Kosar. I mean, to be honest, they have a young quarterback that is now under contract. Myles Garrett is one of the best defensive players in the entire league. Nick Chubb is a top 5 running back. They just got Amari Cooper. Their defense and Kevin Stefanski has proven that he's a damn good head coach. All of these things, and again, I preface to separate this. Football tells me that Deshaun Watson has a big opportunity to play his way out of it because he was not proven guilty in the court of law. He's getting only suspended for 6 games, as we know now, and he's 26. That's my answer to the question, but I'm glad you brought up the Michael Vick. In some people's eyes, they never will.
Well, and Ken says Watson's ceiling is basically Big Ben's legacy. And I don't know how everybody else feels about Big Ben Roethlisberger, but I kind of feel like Big Ben Roethlisberger is a little bit slimy. He just kind of gives that off to me. I mean,
at the end of his career, man, you all the Steelers fans, you should see. I mean, we know about. I know how the Steelers fans act.
Sure,
they love Big Ben.
No, I know, but I'm not a Steelers fan. So I still remember Big Ben and Ben Roethlisberger as the person who was, trying to corner the woman in a bathroom in a club. That's so sleazy. It's just messed up for somebody to do that. So again, I still have that in my mind when somebody presents to me Ben Roethlisberger.
See, I don't think about that. It's on the list. Don't get me wrong.
No,
it hasn't been a race, but it is not that high up on the list because of time. Time makes people forget. It's just the history of what everything is, right? Look at all the news cycles we've been through over the last 10 years, right? It happens. There's going to be another Deshaun Watson or somebody else that gets in trouble. It just always is, and it will help people forget. It won't completely erase the memory, though.
Yeah, and
Michael Vick, and I'll ask you this, Austin. I know your standpoint on it, and I'm not trying to change it because it doesn't matter. Have you watched the documentary on Michael Vick?
No, I don't know if I can.
And that's fair. I would say that documentary did open my eyes to some of the remorse that I saw Michael Vick have that I did not know before I watched it. I'm with you, man. Killing that amount of animals, especially with the love that I have, and I would lump you into this, the love that we have for our individual pets, the sadistic things that he was doing of animal cruelty, that will never leave my mind. But it's, when you hear the remorse in Michael Vick's voice, I did believe it. I wasn't fooled by it. The documentary definitely helped me get to a better space, but I will never forget and completely forgive Michael Vick from doing what he did.
Travis asked, so Austin, do you believe in second chances or people growing and making changes? Absolutely. I do. But there's a level of the fact that Deshaun Watson's lawyer had to felt the need to call into a Houston sports talk show to say, not like a scheduled interview appearance, but as a caller called into the radio show to say that happy endings are not illegal. He felt the need.
But Austin, that's also just bad representation. You've never had multiple lawyers, right? So you just have bad, in the history of the world, you have bad representation. You cannot, and I will tell you this, Austin, you cannot hold that bad representation against Deshaun Watson. That was somebody else. That was not him.
But
that's unfair.
Again, it's a part of the entire story of this case.
It's a part of the story, but it's bad representation.
Okay. All right. So we both think it was too short of a suspension. We'll see what Roger Goodell does with his appeal moving forward. He's got 3 days to appeal the suspension handed down by Sue L. Robinson, on Deshaun Watson of the Browns for the 6-game suspension. But Zach, let's talk about A.J. Brown and his tweets. But first, tell us all about Farm Bureau Health Plans.
Yeah, FBHP.com/A to Z is where you guys need to go to change your health plan. I changed my health plan, and I am very, very glad that I did. Better coverage, better rates, better service, and 200 plus locations across the state of Tennessee. I changed at the beginning of this year, and I've already reaped the benefits of it. I got the flu. I got sick. I needed a teledoc conference. It didn't cost me anything because it was included in my plan. I met with the doctor. She prescribed me medicine, and I got better because of that. That was because of Farm Bureau Health Plans. I also get teeth cleaning, pearly whites, as I always say, and a contact allowance because I've been wearing contacts since 7th grade. I can't see. If I didn't have my contacts in, I couldn't do the show. Well, I get an allowance to actually pay for and help pay for some of my contacts. That's Farm Bureau Health Plans. Apply today. And how you apply, you take a health assessment, they give you a quote, and then you make a decision. It's very, very simple. That's FBHP.com/ATOZ.
Don't forget, download the BetMGM app. It's August 1st, baby, which means football will be played this week. Football will be played this month. And you can bet on the action with BetMGM. Download the app and use our code ATOZ Sports, and you get a risk-free bet up to $1,000 with your first bet after your first deposit with BetMGM. Again, visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only, new customer offer. All promotions subject to qualifications and other requirements. Rewards issued with non-withdrawable free bets, credit, free bets expire 7 days. For following game with support, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. You got something, Zach?
I do. Jason states, everybody get your popcorn ready. We're about to talk about A.J. Brown. Well, you need double the popcorn. I do want to say Thursday, we've got a massive company-wide announcement that we'll be teasing the next couple of days. But a lot of work has gone into this, and it will only benefit sports fans, which is great. Titans fans, tons of fans. We've been working on that. So Thursday, get ready for our big A to Z Sports company-wide announcement. Very excited about the future of our company and excited about Thursday of announcing the news that we've been working on.
All right. So Dwayne says AJ's tweets make you look at the Titans organization some more. So let's show that tweet that AJ put out there last night at 7:37. Basically, all four of us got the same contract, and I'm the only one that got traded. Yeah, keep believing it was me. Anywho, go Birds. Hashtag carry on. So the end of it, of the hashtag carry on, after I just dropped this huge thing in the middle to make y'all fight over, it does make me laugh. But again, Titans Kyle says maybe AJ Brown is growing up a little bit because he didn't delete this one. It was still active when I took the screenshot this morning. But AJ Brown tweets basically all four of us, meaning Deebo Samuel, DK Metcalf, Terry McLaurin, and AJ Brown, got the same contract, and I'm the only one got traded. Yep, keep believing it was me. Anywho, go Birds. So here's the question we want to get to, because I do have to get going in the next. I have to leave my house in under 20 minutes to get to Titans practice. So we can't go too crazy long on this because we still have Would You Rather. But here's the question we want to propose. Why was AJ Brown the only wide receiver of these four to be traded away this offseason? Why? Why was AJ the only one? Because
Why?
Because what AJ said, all four of us got the same contract, and I'm the one that got traded. That's fact. You cannot argue with what AJ Brown said before the ... ellipses. So he was factually correct on the very beginning of that. Now, you can have your opinion on, yeah, keep believing it was me, and afterwards, but he was factually accurate there. So why? I want to know this answer. Zach, I will send you to the chat, and then I want to hear your thoughts too.
So simply, Tighten Up says cap space. So, Tighten Up says it was the money. Jason also says it was the money because they couldn't afford him, period. Nick says John Robinson got played by AJ's agent. I actually think there is something to that. I wouldn't put it in the same terms, though. I think Nick was a little much there. Tiffany says he didn't want to negotiate with the Titans. Who is he kidding? So I think there is something there. I mean, we ask this question very open-ended because there's a lot of answers. Donald says because he's the one that cut off contact with the Titans. There was that report, right? Ask John Robinson because he's not as valuable as the other three from Honky Tonk. So now, shifting your mindset, which I don't know if Honky Tonk would have been saying that 4 months ago, but right now he's saying that he's not as valuable. Dylon says Titans are not as confident in his medicals. We talked about his injury history. I think, he brings up a good point. And then Christine goes money. So there's a lot of different answers. And look, Austin, I'm really glad we asked this question because we have a lot of good answers from the chat. I'm not surprised about that.
Yeah.
And we also have, like Juan upset. He just said because he's a clown, right? He doesn't give any good substance to it. But the tweet, as you said, a portion of it was factual, and then the second half was opinionated.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. And so Joe, and there was another, I did want to address one comment first. Chris says his agent effed him up, and then Alonzo said one word representation. Well, let's remember that Tory Dandy is the same agent for AJ Brown, Deebo Samuel, and DK Metcalf. So Tory Dandy facilitated 3 of these deals, including the one trade and 2 of the non-trades. And so Terry McLaurin has a different agent.
I know we're under time constraints because of Titans practice. So I want to go ahead and state my opinion.
Sure.
I do think that there is merit to AJ Brown's tweet. I've stated that I believe that obviously the negotiations went awry. I mean, that's the reason why the Titans did not keep AJ Brown and stand pat. I also find it very interesting, Austin, on how the San Francisco 49ers played things compared to the Tennessee Titans, because a lot was very similar. Same draft class, same type of wide receiver as far as impact to their team, and one decided to get rid of him. The other one, Deebo, publicly came out and demanded a trade. AJ Brown, we found this out afterwards about the interior talks between agent Tory Dandy and general manager John Robinson. But Debo was the one that publicly came out and wanted to trade. Also, DK and Debo did not participate in practice over the first couple of days of training camp. They were present at their respective facilities. But why was this? Right? This does tell me this seems like a Titans decision,
All right,
more so than an AJ decision.
I do disagree with you. I think the main reason why is because of AJ Brown's actions and AJ Brown's immaturity. And AJ Brown is an immature, emotional human being. Part of that makes him so good on the field because of how he reacts emotionally to drive him forward. But Joe said, too greedy, too early. And I think AJ Brown had an unreasonable reaction to the Titans' initial offer and jumped the gun when it came to negotiations. Again, I think
felt that he got lowballed.
Which it's the first offer. Every first offer is typically the lowest offer, right? I mean, that's just how negotiations go. But AJ Brown acted unreasonably. And I think what Joe mentioned of too early is that AJ was like dead set on right now. Contract right now. Money right now. When John Robinson was more of the, well, hold on. Let's get through the offseason. Let's get through free agency. Let's get to the draft so we can then figure out how we make it work on that end. And so, like, Dwayne says, what the hell, Austin? He did get lowballed. Yeah, it was a low offer.
No, there's a difference between a low offer and low balled. So we need that needs to be set.
But again,
it was 16. So Austin, here's how crazy that low ball offer was. It was around $16 million. When the dust settled, Debo got 23. The discrepancy of $7 million per year, that is why and you can call me what you want, I don't give a damn. But that's why I side more with A.J. Brown than the Tennessee Titans, because I think that the Titans screwed themselves by lowballing. And yes, did A.J. take it a certain way? And did he start playing hardball earlier, maybe more than he needed to? Yeah. But the disrespect of $16 million when after everything is said and done, we're talking about $23 to $24 million per year per wide receiver, and we have 4 to 5 examples of that. Well, 4 examples of that. But again, the market told you everything you needed to know, Austin.
But I think if you got John Robinson with some truth serum or just off the record in a completely safe area, he would probably say, yeah, I regret that first offer to A.J. Brown. It should have been higher. And I don't have a problem. But that shouldn't.
But who set the tone?
Okay, you can say, but it's all about
how Titans set the tone.
Right, but then A.J. Brown reacted unreasonably by shutting things down.
You lowballed the hell out of me.
But it doesn't mean that it cannot be worked through and had a conversation. Mature people work through an issue via conversations and maturity and staying calm, where A.J. Brown did not. His reaction to that was shut down all communications with everyone that gets paid by the Titans organization and pout and force his way out of there. That was his reaction. And so what happened with Debo and the Niners? The Niners absolutely deserve credit for how they stood their ground. No doubt. The Titans felt that it had gotten so bad with A.J. Brown and his shutting down the conversation for almost the entire month of April that they had to do something to get something for him.
I disagree with what you just said at the start. At the end, you were correct, right? They made the move. That is John Robinson's managerial style. We have enough history that tells us that that's what John Robinson likes to do. I was not surprised once John Robinson made up his mind that they were going to move on. He moved on. I like decisive people. I hate indecisive people. They drive me effing crazy. John Robinson is a decisive person. I respected the Tennessee Titans for once they made the decision to actually do it. Now, would I have made that decision? Probably not. I would have figured something else out. I'm also not the general manager of the Tennessee Titans. But Austin, the history of the Titans, general manager John Robinson, is exactly kind of what we saw them do. So I think that's what happened. It got murky. There's no question. But I do think that low ball offer was so impactful because now that we know how far off $16 and $23 million a year is, such a separation over the course of the contracts, that is disgusting.
And again,
I would get pissed off
right.
if somebody said my value was $16 million when at the end of the day, it's closer to 23 and 25.
What we also don't know is the timeline. We don't know when the Titans presented the $16 million offer. If it was pre-Christian Kirk contract to Jacksonville, then the $16 million offer is not as low as it looks post-Christian Kirk. If it was post, then yeah, I'm on your side. But everything changed when the Jags gave Christian Kirk like $17 million base a year, right? And so we also know this because A.J. Brown, this is via the Titans, via sources after the draft came out, that A.J.'s counter from his side was $80 million guaranteed, which is more than Tyreek Hill and like $25 million more than what he got in Philly guaranteed. And so it was such a dysfunctional negotiation process. That's why he was traded.
The Titans, do you also think that, the Titans could have played it like the 49ers? And all three of them could have, and I think that at the end of the day, look, I'm not sitting here and saying that A.J. Brown's the greatest tweeter of all time. He's ridiculous and annoying. I will say that with his deletes and all the stuff. I do not support A.J. Brown tweets. But for this one, it does make sense. What A.J. Brown is trying to say is basically all four of us got the same contract, and he was the only one that got traded. He's basically saying the Titans could have done exactly what the Seahawks and the 49ers and the Commanders did.
Yeah, but again,
they could have.
But AJ react more emotionally.
Debo publicly asked for a trade, Austin. Be quiet. No way. AJ didn't even publicly ask.
Yes.
Do you remember when Debo did?
Yes, but we also know how bad, we have heard the stories of how bad it got inside the conversation between the Titans and AJ. And Juan brings up, don't forget that that AJ lied to Jerron Davenport as well. Like on the report, the Titans flat out said that A.J. Brown lied to Teron Davenport when Teron reached out to A.J. on draft night and had that conversation where Teron posted Friday morning post first round with what A.J. told him. The Titans came out and said, no, that's not how it went. And then you saw more reports with details come out from the Titans' view of things. So I think A.J. Brown has,
look, that gets into a he said stuff, right? So you don't know who was truthful, who was not.
Because that's why AJ got traded. Because a lot of it was back and forth. It was bad negotiation process. And in my opinion, the Niners, again, they get credit for this. I think it got more emotionally involved quicker with the Titans and AJ behind the doors than Debo and the Niners.
Well, and John Lynch is different than John Robinson.
Let's also say this. DK Metcalf deserves a medal for how he played this entire thing. Not one time was there any public story about DK Metcalf being a diva or DK holding out. It was, he didn't show up for practice the first day. He was there at the facility. It got done super calm. And DK Metcalf deserves praise for that.
And he was the one that probably needed to get out of Dodge more often because of Russell Wilson being gone. I would have tried to get the hell out of Seattle. He easily wakes up with Drew Lock.
Right. So again, that's the reason why AJ got traded, is because AJ's more emotional than the other guys. That's my opinion on it.
Last thing, because then we'll get to, and that I simplified would you rather for a reason.
Okay.
But Johnny says, bottom line, if the Titans had more money, then AJ would still be here. Do you think, Austin, it was a money situation with the guaranteed money that AJ was requesting with what Philadelphia gave him? What is your opinion there?
Top tier nailed it. They all got paid in July, not April. Right? That's different. AJ
Well, and Debo got paid before Jimmy G has gotten traded.
Right.
Or whatever that's going to happen.
But again, they all got paid. And what have I said? I'm surprised. Like John Robinson extends guys in July. And AJ Brown was not patient enough to wait until July. If AJ Brown would have understood that, then I think we would have been okay.
Well, you said the same thing about Jeffrey Simmons, and it's August 1st.
That's true, but Jeffrey Simmons still has 2 more years under his contract.
I understand. Well, AJ has the same thing. He still had another year.
AJ did not have the same thing. AJ had 1 year. Jeffrey Simmons has 2 years. That's different.
But he still had a year on his contract.
Right.
That's the point. There's still time
Jeffrey
left.
Simmons has 2.
The Titans did not have to sign him to a contract. It was not. They weren't going to lose him. He was still under contract.
We have so much data of Jarrell Casey, Kevin Byard, Taylor Lewan, Derrick Henry before the franchise tag kicked in, and then there's been more.
But also Harold Landry got signed, right?
It's because he was a free
different
agent.
Situation. I understand that.
Again, AJ was not patient enough. The Titans wanted AJ back. AJ just wanted the money in April when the Titans were saying, we can't do that right now because we have to figure out what it looks like post-draft.
Low ball reaction. Right. That defined why AJ Brown is gone. Both are probably incorrect, right? Can we agree on this?
Yeah, both have
to lowball a player at $16 million a year when your value is probably closer to 25 is asinine.
All right,
to react the way that one reacted gets you traded.
All right, so I got to roll in like 6 minutes. So let's get to our Would You Rather segment here, Zach. But first, tell us all about Wilson County Hyundai.
Yes, Wilson County Hyundai is where you need to go to get your next ride. It is that simple. Your perfect make and model is right around the corner. Quick trip down I-40, exit 236. Painbone and his team can hook you up. Whether it's the Palisade, whether it's the Sonata, you have the Ioniq, and the Ioniq is awesome because it is not fuel-based. It is battery-powered. So that helps you out where you don't have to worry about going to the gas station. You can just plug in and get up and go. You can order on their website, WilsonCountyHyundai.com, get Painbone, help facilitate, it'll give you a great deal, and order the Ioniq. It will come in, and you'll be driving away in a nice brand new Hyundai, which is what you need to do. That's WilsonCountyHyundai.com.
Download the BetMGM app. It's August, which means football is upon us. You get a risk-free bet with your first bet up to $1,000. Up to $1,000 when you sign up with BetMGM app using code ATOZ Sports. Easy enough. Download the app. Use code ATOZ Sports. Risk-free bet up to $1,000 with your first bet. Let's get to Would You Rather, Zach.
All right. It's simple, but impactful. What kind of person are you? Would you rather cook or clean? Would you rather be Mr. Clean or Guy Fieri? Cook or clean? That's the question that we're asking you. Would you rather? Everybody has their preferences, right? Whether you have the ability or whether you prefer. Some people don't know how to cook or don't like to cook. Cook or clean? That is your would you rather.
Who likes cleaning?
Well, if you don't like cooking, you'd rather clean.
I am curious to see how many clean answers we got.
Oh, here's one.
Trevor.
Karen, right off the bat, right
Hey,
here.
by the way, Karen came out to Titans practice on, was that Friday or Saturday? Saturday, Karen, and said hello and welcome Sam to the A to Z family. So, Karen, good to see you over the weekend at Titans practice.
That's great. That is great.
I mean,
I know your answer.
I'm a cook. I also clean too because I usually clean while I cook.
My deal is not that. I hate cleaning.
No, see, my goal is to, by the time the meal is ready, is that everything's also cleaned up, like as much as possible. All the prep stuff is cleaned by the time the timer goes off. That is my goal with every meal that I cook.
Yeah, that is too much work. I'm
No,
concentrating on
it's the
the
game. It's the
meal.
game that I play in my head of how can I time this out perfectly. Cooking all day long.
So let's go to the comments. Ryan, we got a lot of cooks. Too many cooks in the kitchen. Michael, Joseph, David, Jarrell, Dwayne. Tighten up is a clean. Eric is a cook. Billy also is a cook. Cook from Eric. Cook from Steven. 1,000% from Yannick. Cook. There, Karen says clean. Trevor says clean. I'm looking for some more cleans because we got a ton of cook. Oh, Christine says clean. Clean from Jared. It's more simple. Rather cook right there from JR. Charlie says cook. Jamie says clean because I'm going to have to clean the oven afterwards anyway. I mean, I don't know when the last time I cleaned my oven. Will says clean. I just put that bad boy on broil and pray. That's kind of my clean.
It's like, are we talking about cleaning the house in general, like cleaning up the dishes?
Mine's kind of like cleaning up the dishes, right? So with my fiance, I cook, she cleans. That's the deal. And I love that. I love it.
But again, like a lot of times, and I wanted to read Abdul says, being culinary minded, you clean as you cook. If I got a bottle of wine in hand, I'll do both gladly. See, I usually do both, just like I mentioned, of you clean as you cook so that things are easier. But if I've got like a sink full of dishes, I just pop a podcast on or something and just go to town. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't take me but 10 minutes.
Yeah. Well, and again, that's the 10 minutes of the deal that I'm not required to do. So I stack those dishes in the sink, and I use the amount of pots and pans that I use. So it's not like, it's pretty standard of what it is. Plus I also grill, right? So I do take care of the cleanup of the grill, which is, I've got a Traeger. So, shout out Traeger if you want to sponsor it. I use that bad boy every other day, really. I clean and cover the grill, but when it comes to the dishes, I don't clean.
You know what I also don't understand? I don't understand people who don't pre-wash their dishes before going in the dishwasher.
I agree with you there. If I do clean, you can't just stick. I mean, you're a madman if you do that.
I had an old roommate who would just stick peanut butter spoons straight into the, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you sick freak.
That is off limits.
Oh, no, you can't do that. So yes, you have to pre-wash the dishes before they go into the dishwasher.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
All right, I got to run. I'm already late. But hey, good show today. Good conversation. We'll see you guys. I will see you. Me and Sam Phelan, our Titans reporter, will see you guys after Titans practice today. And then tomorrow morning on a Tuesday, reacting to what we see first day in pads out there. So check them out. Mix, you got another comment?
Yeah, Amy left real quick earlier in the show. I didn't see Amy after that comment. So, Amy, if you come back, I'll give you another chance.
That's true.
If not, bye.
Yes, and don't forget, sign up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Tons of practice action coming out later on this morning, and that's where Sam and I will be live afterwards as well. So make sure you subscribe right there to our YouTube channel, and we'll talk to you guys later on. Have a good Monday.
Adios.